Welcome to my show. I'm with one of my guests. They're called John Novello. John Novello, please, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. What about you?
I'm fine, thank you very much, sir. Uh,
Great.
Firstly, we know you are a Grammy Award jazz composer and pianist. Can you
Yes.
tell us more about that aspect, sir?
Well, ever since I've been 3 years old, I wanted to play the piano, and I did. I started off on accordion, and then went to the piano, and then went to the organ. And God blessed me with some talent, but I worked very hard, practiced 5, 6 hours a day, and lived in a small town in the United States called Erie, Pennsylvania. And then I moved to Boston, Massachusetts to study jazz at the famed Berklee College of Music. And then I moved out to Los Angeles in 1978 to begin my music career.
All right, sir. Can you tell us the setback you had during those time and the issues you see during that time? What are the issues you encountered when having this imagination of being a jazz person?
Well, initially, everything went fantastic. I started playing and practicing. I got in a band in Erie, Pennsylvania. Somebody invited me to be in their band, and we were playing at a Ramada Inn. And a famous producer that was on his way from New York to Cleveland uh, ended up stopping into the hotel we were playing at, which means to me it was orchestrated from above. And he saw us and signed us to a record deal. And we released a record 3 months later, and it became a hit. And everything was going really fine. I was only 18, 17 or 18. But then the setback was the singer ended up joining the army because those were the days of the Vietnam War and the draft. He got drafted, and then the record company dropped us. We lost our recording contract. And that was devastating to me because I thought my career was on its way, you know. And but that that sort of was God's way of saying, I want to prepare you more. And then that made me make a decision to go to Boston to study music at Berklee. And then I went out to California. And then one thing led to another. Because of my training, I was much more prepared to be competitive in the industry. And I hooked up with all kinds of famous bands, The Taste of Honey, Donna Summer, Manhattan Transfer, Edgar Winter, Chick Corea. And my career started to blossom. So like I always tell people, there is no such thing as a setback. Every setback or everything that happens, don't view as negative or positive, just view as an experience for which you can learn something from. And that's what happened to me.
Right. Do you ever imagine that you will win a Grammy when you were having this career?
Oh no, I never thought I'd be in a band and win a Grammy or win any awards or uh, I always tell people you shouldn't go after an award anyway. You should just follow your heart and the passion that the Lord gave you. And if you do that, then those kinds of things are the result if you're honest and you have ethics and integrity. So when that happened, I was very excited. And then I was in that R&B band Taste of Honey, and I was the musical director, and we had a hit record, and that sold millions. And then one thing led to another, and I've been blessed, and that's part of the reason I wrote my new book, The Invisible Architect, because the Invisible Architect is my name for God, the energy, the creator of all. And my whole book is about how to interact and connect with the creator, who I call the architect, and have the creator help you design your life. Because you and the creator can do anything, but you by yourself, That's tough.
Yes, we'll still talk about this your creator book, but there's a question I want to ask about this Grammy stuff. I want to talk about the background of the music industry in Nigeria firstly, which is the Afrobeat, which is created by Fela Kuti. It was built and a lot of artists got into this Afrobeat style. They were all united. Everybody were happy. A lot of artists featuring themselves. The vibe was there, and everybody were loving it. But when it gets to the point whereby Grammy started giving an award of African artists, things like that, everything changed. They were all divided. There were no unity anymore. We don't hear,
Huh.
we often hear. So I want to ask, like, is there anything about this Grammy that is more, that is more of unique that cause something like that? Like, or is it just the way the artists just see that award? I don't. That's why I have to ask her.
Are you asking what I think of the Grammy Awards in
Yes.
general?
Yes.
Well, I don't want to denigrate any award company.
Okay.
Like I said, never went after an award, but I think awards become political and can become just business,
Oh,
and it can divide people.
yeah.
And I don't think I've even watched the Grammys in a long time because I thought it's got political, and I think it it's not as good as it was. It's supposed to be rewarding the best people in their field. I'm not so sure it does that anymore because I think it's becoming political, the way they vote and everything. And some of those artists, I scratch my head going, "Whoa, how did that happen?" And but I don't want to sound condescending or anything. It's just that I think that uh, an award group can deteriorate if the people that are running it are not being honest and ethical. So I'm not sure what happened there in Africa. You said when the Grammy Awards started to happen, it started dividing people. Is that what happened?
Yes, exactly.
In what way? People started just wondering why they didn't get picked or what?
Something like that, when one wins something like that, everybody will be like, I want to win it too, I want to win it too. Then the issue of this issue whereby an artist won't have the opportunity to even bring himself out, things like that. They will not be able to, assist other artists who are still coming up. They only want to do all for themselves. Maybe due, I don't know. But that is how the issue has just been happening. Everybody just want to, go viral to the world. They don't want to look at what is going on within the country anymore. And I'm thinking, is this award just too, powerful to dice? And was why I brought the question. Well,
Yeah, I think to be honest with you, it's nice to be anytime you get rewarded by the people
yeah.
or your peers. I'd much be rewarded by the people um, that love and buy my music and thank me is a more important award than the industry and my peers because I think the industry and your peers can get alloyed with all kinds of distractions and politics and people are wanting to win and if they didn't win they get upset and then they want to hire people to promote themselves and I think it's a big distraction. That's probably what happened. People get distracted and realize that going after your dreams and working with God and interacting is really why we're here and to service others. And if you do that, that is, you've already won the Grammy. You don't need the Grammy. So if it happens, fine, but don't get stuck on it. It's just an award for your hard work. Continue doing your hard work and don't worry. And I don't think one should ever go after an award. I think we live on earth to serve others,
Mm.
and greatness is serving others. So if you serve others, you're serving yourself. Going after the award is not servicing others.
All right. So can you tell us about your best Amazon selling book, The Invisible Architect? What can you tell us? Like, what's are the more things you can say about that book, sir?
Yeah, what happened with that book is 4 years ago, I woke up one day, and I've always had a connection with God, my inner voice. I'd always hear this voice. I've heard this voice ever since I've been young. I've been blessed with it. And it has helped me with my success. And I woke up one day and the voice said, "You need to write a book and pay it forward about how you interact with the creator." And I went, "Really?" I said, "I'm a jazz musician. I'm not a philosopher, I'm not a metaphysical author." And they said, "You don't have to be. All you need to do is listen to me," meaning I would channel it, "and I'll help you write it. And I want you to share it with everybody because the world is going the wrong way, right? All the wars and politics and evil and graft and everything that's going on." And there was a book written by this author called The Celestine Prophecy. It's a really good book, and it talks about how when we disconnect from the Creator, whether knowingly or unknowingly, we become weaker. So the world in general has been starting to be separated from this energy source. You could call God an energy, intelligent energy that permeates all of us. Whether we believe it or not, it's there. And if we disconnect ourselves from that and don't invite it, surrender to it, invite it into our lives, things don't go as good. So the book is about how to connect with this intelligent energy. In physics, they call it quantum energy. I call it sometimes the quantum intelligent energy field, God. Everybody has different names. God has many, many names. So I called it the invisible architect because God is invisible and architect means to create. So it told me to write this book. And so I started writing the book, and it was almost being dictated to me. I started writing and it started happening. I was like, whoa, what is all this, And when it got done, I didn't even know what to do with it because it was a book written in metaphysics and spirituality. And my expertise was music. So I didn't even know how to get it out there. So I hired somebody that knew how to promote and get it on Amazon. And I put it on Amazon, and within a week or so, it was a #1 Amazon bestseller. And I went, whoa, now what do I do? Right. And then I thought I was done. Okay, I'm still a musician, play jazz, let the book talk to people. But all of a sudden, people from all over the world started contacting me, just like you contacted me. And they said, hey, we got your book and we love it. And the principles in the book are incredible. Do you do any mentoring, coaching on the book? Could you help me apply the principles in the book so I can create a better life? And I had never thought of it. And I said, well, maybe I should. And Invisible Architect, who I've always had this voice, says, yeah, you better. So I started one-on-one mentoring with people. And now I'm doing it all over the world. So people go to my website and they sign up. And then I do one-on-one mentoring using Zoom and help them debug their lives and create a better life. It doesn't matter what area. It doesn't matter if it's income or relationships or health, wealth, whatever problems are going on. When you hook up with the creator, and the principles in the book were given to me through my research, I just help people go through the book one-on-one and help change their lives, because my goal is, if I can help raise the frequency of each person one by one, then I'm raising the energy or frequency of the planet. And I know there's almost 8 billion people on the planet, but you got to start somewhere, right? So every person that I help create a perfect life, a better life, I believe helps the planet. So that's my my primary mission now, it used to be my primary mission was to entertain people and inspire them musically, which I still do. But now in my later years, I'm more excited about meeting people one-on-one all over the world and helping them create a better life because that creates a better world. So that's how that book got started.
All right. So, when you were saying this, I heard you say something. You said you heard from, like, I want to ask, how do you try your best to communicate with God? Like, how do you know that God is communicating with you? Can you say a little bit about something like that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So at 3 years old, I was watching TV and there was a keyboard player on the TV and I saw him and this voice, I didn't know what it was. It was an inner voice, you know. It said, it point to it. My parents were next to me. So I pointed to the keyboard because I was told to by this voice, which later on I realized was the voice, right? But at 3 years old, you don't know anything. So I pointed to the voice, and my parents figured when I pointed to the keyboard that I wanted to play. And that was my first connection to God, which later on I discovered. Then I kept hearing that voice, and it kept advising me. I would make decisions. I would ask. It was like my best friend. And I thought everybody had that friend, and we do. But what I describe in my book is how to connect with this voice, which I eventually called the invisible architect, how to interact with that voice, how to invite it into your life, because it's the power. We are not the power. God is the power. So we have to invite the power into our life and learn how to communicate. Now, some people say that's prayer, and it is, but you can't just go, please help me, God, and that's it. That's like begging God to help you. It doesn't work that way. So there's a way I found to interact with God, which was explained to me by God, believe it or not. So I was explaining that in my
Yes.
book. I found out through this energy source that I call the architect, it told me the best way on how to communicate, invite it into your life so you can distribute its power, because we're not the power, it's the power. And so I've got a bunch of techniques that are in the book. So if somebody works with me one-on-one, I show them how to hook up with this power so they really get it. In other words, this is not woo-woo stuff. This is the real deal, how to hook up with your higher self, God, and use this power to help create a better life.
All right. So, I want to go back about to what can you what are the type of people you recommend to your book? Do you recommend every single person to read your book, or do you recommend some set of people like that?
Well, anybody, the good thing about this is we're all spiritual beings that are here in the earth dimension, and our vehicles all our bodies. So we all can benefit from spiritual growth. So to answer your question, anybody can read my book and gain from it. But if you're not a person that's interested in creating a better life, then nothing's going to work. God doesn't seem to work with people who don't recognize he exists and don't invite him into their life. I'm working with an atheist right now who doesn't believe in God, but he wants to. So he signed up and I'm doing the one-on-one mentoring. And after only a few weeks, he had a couple experiences and he went, oh my God, whoa. Now he's a believer, right? So it doesn't matter what your faith is. Doesn't matter if you're a Hindu or yoga or Buddhist or Catholic or Christian or even an atheist. Whether you believe or not, this energy source is around. I mean, it would be very narcissistic to believe we created ourselves and the earth just got created by accident, in my opinion. So hooking up with this energy is not as hard as people think. The reason why lots of people can't hook up with it or don't is life is tough and they're distracted by making a living and family and relationships and politics and wars. All those things distract us from our spiritual roots. And therefore, we have to raise our frequency because God is at a very high frequency. And if you're at a low frequency, you're not going to be able to communicate, right? So there's principles and studies and spiritual exercises that I go through that are unique, that are in my book that help people become aware of the invisible architect and how to communicate with the invisible architect. So it's for anybody, but you got to be interested in understanding this energy and wanting to work with it. If you're not there and you don't care about that stuff, then I can't really help until you, and God doesn't help either. It just sits there until you invite it into your life, you know?
I want to ask if you have any upcoming book that you would love to write again to release in the nearest future. Is there any book that you are still working on
Yeah,
again?
I'm actually starting to write another book. I recently lost my wife,
Oh.
and it's my second wife. I lost one 40 years ago, and I wrote a book about it called The Song That Never Ended, which is all about communicating to my wife after she passed. So it's an autobiography, and then how she communicated with me. And it's a good book that helps people recover from losses. Then I got married to my current wife, who just passed away a couple years ago, and that was very devastating. Again, to lose another person that you love. So now I'm writing a book about grief. Tentatively, the title is going to be called "To Grieve or Not to Grieve." That is the question. So there's a lot of books written about grief, but this one's going to have a different slant and a different viewpoint on it. So I'm in the middle of writing the outline right now.
All right, I'm so
So
sorry.
maybe next year it'll be out.
All right, I'm so sorry about that. May I, Professor, rest in peace.
Thank you
Um,
so much. I appreciate it.
Let us go back to the music area. I want to talk about the two music that I saw that got to charts. What can you say about the Beat Soul and the other music that got to the charts, Billboard?
That go to where?
The Billboard charts.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. I heard you say B3 Soul, but
Like I
what
want to
was you?
ask, what inspired you to sing the two songs that the two music that trended to that got to chart, the two jazz music that got to the Billboard charts? That's
What?
the beat soul and good to go.
Good to go. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So B3 Soul, B3 is an organ, very famous model Hammond organ. And I grew up playing the Hammond organ, and it's called B3. So I decided one day that I wanted to write a record that featured that sound, the Hammond B3. So I called it B3 Soul, featuring me on the keyboards. And that B3 Soul went number one. And it created a bluesy, kind of a funky, soulful, bluesy sound, and it did really well. Then my next record, I think, was Crush. And then the one after that was Good to Go. Good to Go went number one on the Billboard jazz charts in the area of smooth and contemporary jazz. And before B3 Soul, Crush, and Good to Go, I was more into jazz fusion, which I love, but it's a little bit more complicated stuff. And it wasn't communicating to a big audience, more of a eclectic audience. And so I wanted to reach and inspire more people. So when I wrote B3 Soul, it was more about the pocket and the feel, which everybody loves, you know? It just makes you feel good. So I got into that kind of music. Some people call it contemporary jazz, some people call it smooth jazz, um, about 10 years ago, and did quite well with those three records, V3 Soul, Crush, and then Good to Go, which went number one. So that's how I got in to that type of music. I wanted to reach a wider amount of people.
All right. I want to go to the area whereby you write books, more spiritual books that makes people to be inspired, and you also, have this inspiration of the music. How have you tried to work with the two of them together and still build yourself to this essence?
How do I write the books? What do you
Like
mean?
I said, you are writing books and you are into the music industry. How have you
Right.
tried your best to, work with the two of them and you are still,
I
like
see.
yes,
Yeah, it's like walking the fence.
yeah.
Uh, I Music comes easy for me. I practiced a lot, so writing music and playing music is easy. Writing books is a little bit more difficult. Takes a longer time to write a book. So uh, usually when I'm writing books, I'm not out playing music. And when I'm playing music, I'm not writing books because it's hard to do both of them at the same time. Right now, um, I'm writing a new book, so I'm not doing too much music. But as soon as I get that book done, I've got a couple new CDs that I want to write, and they're in my head, kind of just swimming around, waiting to come out. It's like a baby that's sitting there incubating, and the moment you go, okay, then things start happening. So I'm always thinking of ideas to write books, and I'm also thinking of music to write. And that's always come natural to me. I thank the architect for giving me that blessing to write. But at the same time, it takes a lot of work and discipline. It's not just it comes out, it's a lot of work. So when I grew up, I practiced 6, 7, 8 hours every day. People went out to parties and I didn't want to go to the party. I stayed home and practiced. Uh, and then even in school, I studied literature and grammar. And so I prepared unknowingly, was preparing myself. God was preparing myself for the future because I think that God blesses everybody. Now, there's lots of people in the world suffering and all kinds of problems going on. But when we come to this earth dimension, we come to learn lessons. And there's no way you learn lessons if everything is hunky dory and everything is fun and games. Um, I think God steels us up and makes us stronger by sending us challenges, and we can either accept that challenge and learn and grow from it, or we cannot. If we accept the challenge, we grow. Otherwise, we stay stagnant. When the wind blows, you got a piece of wheat that's 3 feet high and the wind's blowing. The wheat doesn't go against the wind. The wheat just goes. And then when the storm passes, it comes back, right? So all things pass good, all things pass that are bad. So we have to learn from that piece of wheat to surrender to what's happening and learn from it. And that speeds up your spiritual growth. So that's one of the things that's in my book, The Invisible Architect, on how to do that. But I've always been blessed with being able to write music and play music, but I didn't realize I was going to be an author until later on in my life. My first book was a music book. So I've got three or four books out in the area of how to play piano and keyboards. And that's where I thought it was going to end. Okay, I play music, I can write music books. I didn't think I was going to get into the area of metaphysics and philosophy and spiritual growth in self-help, but God said, there you are. So I did it, you know.
Lastly,
Can't argue with him.
yes. Lastly, I want to say generally, can you just give the audience one of the best advice that you could just give to them generally?
General advice
Yes.
is to realize that we are all one, not only one with each other, but one with the invisible architect. Uh, if we realize that this energy source that I call the invisible architect, some people call God, Jesus, whatever, that energy source and us are all one, and we all are part of that energy source. The more we think we're separate, then that disconnects us from the power. We are not alone. We are not the power, but we are one with the power. And so we are the distributor of that power. It's like in the martial arts Aikido, when an opponent comes at you with energy, you take that energy and you just distribute it where you want to. You don't fight it. And that's the magic of that martial arts. So in life, if we're all one and we're all connected, we're all going to treat each other better. And if we realize that we're part of one, there's a couple quotes that come to mind. I and the Father are one, right? Or the kingdom of God is within. That's why my book is called The Invisible Architect, How to Design Your Perfect Life from Within. Because as within is without. So if your life, outer world, is not going well, don't put your attention on the outer world. Put your attention on the inner world. So that's why if we realize we are all one in the kingdom and the energy is within, then we will make better decisions in life and hook up to the power. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. All right. Last and not the least, if there's anything you have lost to inherit from your forefather, what will it be, sir?
Is there anything what?
If there's anything you would love to inherit from your forefather, what will it be?
Inherit from God?
No, 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 no. Like like your forefather, like the history, people, people who have lived in history. Like, what will it be like you will have gotten to have, have in life?
You mean from ancestors and
Yes,
forefathers
yes.
that I would like to or that I've inherited?
Like you would like to.
Wow, that's an interesting question. I never had that question asked to me. Uh, I guess just their knowledge and love of life uh, would be my answer without thinking too hard on it. What would be yours? I want to know yours.
Well, would just be maybe mine would just be I would just wish to have, this world of peace, joy and happiness. I think that's just
There you go.
us.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree.
All right,
Well, I would love to hook up more with your people on that part of the world. And
no problem, sir.
uh, can I give a website out to tell them how to get to it, or are you going to put a website on this when it comes out?
I'll put the website on the description, sir.
But I'll say it. It's very simple. JohnNovelloAuthor.com. It's my name, JohnNovelloAuthor.com. And they can go to that website and they can reach me for mentoring. They can ask me questions about my music and my books and get on my list. And I'd love to hook up with people.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time and goodbye
You're
and have a
welcome.
wonderful day. Thank you.
You too. Have a great bye.